My name is Jennifer. My sister was standing in the middle of my $700,000 house that day, just before the family reunion. With a smug smile, she blurted out, "Our father promised me this place as a wedding gift. Do you really think this is yours?" My father laughed, after I had already paid $650,000 for it. "You don't belong here," he added. I said nothing, just took the deed and texted them. "Do you really think this is your house?" Anna's voice echoed off the high ceilings as if she already owned the place. She stood in my living room, barefoot now, her heels tossed near the fireplace, as if she were checking the square footage before closing the deal. My father had promised me this house as a wedding gift. She turned and looked at me like I was a trespasser. I was still holding the bottle of red wine, the one I had bought for the family reunion I had imagined we would have. My fingers tightened around the neck of the bottle. I hadn't even said hello when Dad walked in, looked at me, then at Anna, and walked past me as if I were invisible. "You brought money," he said, "but you don't belong here." That was it. No hug, no nice to see you. Just a casual erasure of the $650,000 I'd sunk into this place over the past 10 years. My life savings, a decade of brutal freelance work, 2 jobs at once, no vacation, no safety net. They were in my kitchen, and they acted like they'd caught me trespassing. I didn't say a word, just walked over to the drawer next to the stove, grabbed a clear plastic sheet with a crisp document inside, and set it on the island. Dad glanced over, squinted a little, his jaw tightening. It was the deed. So I picked up my phone, calm, no drama, just a single message I'd drafted months ago, not because I thought I'd use it, but because I knew I might need it someday. To the family chat, sold. Silence. Anna's face paled, her smug smile gone. She looked around the room again, at the fireplace, the hardwood floors, the way people look at something they know they'll never touch again. "You're lying." Her voice cracked. I didn't answer. She didn't know the papers had been signed yesterday, that the money had already been paid, that escrow had been closed 2 hours before they'd barged into my house unannounced. But it had never been about the house, not really. It had been about the assumption that no matter how much I paid, no matter how far I got, I would still be the kid they could ignore. Well, not anymore. And when the door finally closed behind them, I didn't feel angry, I felt myself. Because this wasn't the end. This was the beginning, and they had no idea what was coming. The worst part was that I wanted to believe they hadn't said it like that. Even after that moment in the kitchen, Anna smug, Dad cruel, me silent, I still told myself that maybe it was just a misunderstanding. Maybe they were stressed. But the truth about family is that when someone shows you who they really are and you still expect them to be someone else, you become your own jailer. This didn't start last week. It started years ago. I was the one who paid off Anna's student loans when she dropped out of college twice. I was the one who wired money when Mom said her credit card had been stolen and they were waiting for the refund. I sent $1,000 here, $2,000 there, always only until next month, for 5 years. I never got a dime back, not even a thank you card. I paid my parents' taxes twice, and they didn't even notice. They thought the county stopped sending notices because they were old. I covered Anna's car insurance for 2 years after she crashed her own car. Then she bought a new car and posted selfies with it on Instagram with the caption, "Some of us are just born lucky." No tag, no mention. Just a moment stolen from someone else's wallet. Still, I didn't say anything. I was the invisible safety net. I made good money, so they felt entitled to it until I bought that house. That house changed everything. Suddenly, I had something they couldn't ignore, couldn't absorb into their mess, and they hated it. It started small. One night, Anna sent a message on the family chat, "Can't wait to move into my dream house. Big things coming. Stay tuned." I didn't react, but I saw Mom liked the message. Dad replied, "That's my girl. You always deserve the best." 2 minutes later, Anna sent me a private message. "Don't act shocked if we have the reunion at your house. You're the one with the extra bedrooms." Then the public thing started. A photo of my house, taken without my knowledge, was posted on her Instagram story, manifesting my future vision. I messaged her, "Where did you get this photo?" She left me hanging. Then came the fundraiser. Yes, the fundraiser. Anna launched a fund titled, "Help Us Build Our Family's Dream Home." And in the description she wrote, This property has been in our family for generations. My sister is just the placeholder. Placeholder, like I was renting out my own life. People started sharing, distant cousins, old classmates. She raised $12,000 in 3 days. I confronted her and she said, "It's nothing personal, you're just too attached to things. It's always been that way." Then, just when I thought it couldn't get any worse, the video dropped. A 22-second clip on Facebook, Dad walking down my hallway, giving a fake tour of his future son-in-law's house. "Right here's where we're going to put the pool table. Anna's always wanted one. We'll probably knock down this wall, enlarge the kitchen, have to make room for the grandkids, of course. We're grateful to our daughter for keeping the lights on in the meantime." 700 likes, dozens of comments. "Wow, that looks amazing. Can't wait to visit." No one knew the truth, that the house was in my name, that the mortgage was coming out of my account, that the only thing they owned was their shamelessness. Why would they think they owned what was mine? I wondered. They'd always taken advantage of my goodwill, but this was too much to bear in silence. That's when I stopped playing their game. I started investigating. I remembered something, Anna's old hard drive. She used to take it everywhere, bragging about how she backed up everything. I never delete anything. You never know when you'll need a receipt. I went to my storage unit, found the backup she'd left years ago when I'd helped her move her laptops, plugged it in, and waited. At first it was just junk. Selfies, folders labeled, bridesmaid inspiration, files called, PDF. Then I saw the folders, family, fakes, do not delete, printouts for evidence. I opened family. Inside were dozens of edited screenshots, text messages she'd altered to make it sound like I was threatening her, rewritten emails, my words twisted into threats and insults. She'd even had voice recordings stitched together to simulate angry voicemails from me. I heard one, "You don't matter. I hope your life falls apart." My voice, but cut and pasted like a ransom note. You could hear the editing if you listened closely, but who would? She was getting ready for something. I copied everything down. Then I checked the times. Some of those messages were from dates when I was out of the country. She hadn't just manipulated the family. She'd built a case. A case for what I didn't know yet, but I wasn't going to wait to find out. I started my own file. And then came the final crack. 3 nights before the meeting, I got a text from an old friend of my dad's, Eduardo, a guy I hadn't heard from in years. "Just so you know, your dad's been showing people around the house. He told me he's going to give it to Anna as a gift. Is that true?" I didn't respond. Instead, I called the realtor, the same one who'd helped me buy the place, and said something I thought I'd never say. "We're putting the house up for sale." They showed up in matching colors. Anna in ivory and pearls, Mom in something floral, and Dad in a blazer he only wore when he wanted people to think he still had control. They arrived early, of course, because they thought it was theirs. The party was supposed to start at 5, with guests arriving around 4:30, but at 3:48 I heard the beep of the gate code and 3 sets of footsteps echoing down the marble driveway of a house I had already sold. I was waiting in the kitchen, calm and focused. I had everything set up exactly the way I wanted it. Dad came in first, looked around like a homeowner doing a final inspection. "So this is the big send-off, huh?" he said. "Well, better late than never. Just sign the transfer papers after the party and we'll be even." I didn't answer. Anna followed him, stopped in the living room, smiled broadly like a bride walking down the aisle. God, I can't wait to paint this place. Maybe that awful gray will finally go away. No offense. Mom was the last. She didn't say anything, she never did. She just watched. I let them talk, let them settle in, let them climb high enough to enjoy the view before the fall. Then the doorbell rang. I opened the door and there he was, Lucas, Anna's ex, the one she'd humiliated and discarded, the one who'd moved on after they'd exploited him to the fullest. Anna's face fell. "What are you doing here?" Lucas didn't answer. He walked in, waved me over, and set the folder on the kitchen island. "I think it's time the family saw the real Anna," he said, clear and loud. Then he opened the folder. Inside were screenshots, transcripts, and a printed timeline of messages and voice recordings taken from the hard drive I'd found, dated, verified, enhanced. My friend in digital forensics owed me a favor. Anna screamed, "This is fake. You can't just bring trash in here. Sit down. My voice came out lower than I expected. It didn't sound like a plea. It sounded like law. She stopped. Dad moved toward the folder, read a page. Just one. His face didn't move. Then I spoke. This is a message Anna sent to Lucas's boss, posing as an ex-girlfriend, trying to get him fired. Silence. This is a fake text exchange she created between me and her, where I supposedly threatened her. I picked up the tablet I'd placed on the dining table and tapped the screen. A voice recording began to play, my voice, but clipped, broken between tones. You're nothing. I've always hated your guts. Dad winced. Mom took a step back. Then I dropped the hard drive on the table. Everything she's ever lied about is in here. Dated, stamped, recoverable. Anna was shaking. You're making a scene, she screamed. No, I said, I'm finishing one. Then the second guest arrived. My grandfather, my father's father. He hadn't spoken to any of us in over a year, but he was the only person I trusted to tell it like it was. He walked in, quiet and terrifying in his own way. Dad's face paled. Grandpa walked to the table, looked at the papers, then at Anna. You've always been your father's daughter, he said. Then he turned to Dad. You lied. You used this girl. You stole from her. And you let your daughter do worse. Dad finally snapped. Don't come into my house and it's not your house, I said. I took a white envelope from my back pocket and slid it across the table. This is the final transfer agreement. Signed, witnessed, sealed yesterday. Anna blinked. Did you sell the house? Yes. Full market value. No discount, no gift, no inheritance. But Dad said, it can't be. Anna turned to him. You promise, he snapped. I said what I had to say. Do you think this is about you? I built this family. Grandpa held up his hand. No, you ruined it. Then I looked at all of them. At Anna, who had used me. At Mom, who had left her. At Dad, who had orchestrated each manipulation like a tired con artist executing his final trick. You said I didn't belong here, I said. So I'm leaving. But I'm taking everything you thought was yours with me. Then I turned and walked away. I didn't stay for the rest of the party, didn't wait for the other guests to arrive. I left them standing in a house they thought they owned, surrounded by proof that they had built their lives on a foundation of stolen loyalty. And the only thing louder than the silence behind me was the sound of that front door slamming. I didn't go home that night or the next day. I checked into a hotel, one of those quiet, expensive ones I used to glance at and think, maybe someday. I booked 2 weeks, paid in advance. Not because I had nowhere else to go, but because I needed space. I needed to get some distance and look at my life without them in the picture. Room service, coffee on the porch, long walks without my phone. I texted my manager that I was taking a personal week and turned everything off. On the first day, the first call came from my mother. Then another, then another. 15 missed calls in a single day. I didn't answer. On the third day, my father broke the silence. What have you done? Everything is falling apart. I stared at the message, saved it in a new folder titled, This is their problem now. On the 5th day, Anna showed up at the hotel. She didn't know my room number, but she stood in the lobby wearing large sunglasses, holding something in her hand, a paper, a folder, maybe another act. I saw her from the elevator, hesitated, then stepped back inside and let the doors close. I left her standing there. On the 9th day, the notary called. The money had been released. The house was officially sold. The account I had quietly opened months ago was now active, untouched, and completely out of their reach. I didn't feel triumph. I felt stillness. Later that night, I did something I had been putting off for years. I filed the paperwork to open my own agency, a small low-key business that offered property audits to people who suspected financial abuse or family fraud. No social media campaign, no big reveal, just a website and a waiting list. Turns out, a lot of people are tired of being used by those who claim to love them. Clients came quickly. An old coworker, a friend of a friend, even an investor my dad had mocked for not having enough guts. He reached out with a contract and a check, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel like a backup plan. But back at their house, chaos had begun. A neighbor from the old street texted me, Your mom came by to borrow money, said you guys were having a disagreement. She was crying. I replied, don't believe a word. I'm not part of this anymore. He understood. 4 weeks later, I got a letter from the bank confirming that my name had been officially removed from all accounts related to my parents' mortgage and utilities. They now had full financial responsibility. If they didn't pay, they would be charged. I didn't hesitate, I didn't call to explain, I didn't ask if they were okay. I simply deleted the last password on my safe deposit box. That week, I got a text from an old classmate of my mother's. She says you've changed. I bet you want to destroy your family, that you're not the same daughter. I replied with one sentence. I just stopped destroying myself. That was the last response I gave. No long monologue, no confrontation. And then, finally, there was silence. No more calls, no more guilt trips, just silence. But not the lonely kind, the peaceful kind, the kind that lets you sleep without clenching your jaw, the kind that lets you make breakfast without wondering who's going to order it next, the kind where silence isn't punishment, it's freedom. The last time I saw any of them was the day I closed the door on that house, my house, now someone else's. 2 months passed. No calls, no messages, nothing. Then the whispers started. It wasn't a meeting, it wasn't repentance, it was damage control. One of my agency contacts forwarded a name from a fraud screening report, someone applying for housing assistance with a questionable income history. The applicant, Anna. Co-signers, my parents. I didn't intervene, didn't respond, just made a mental note. They're still trying to game the system, even without me in it. A week later, my accountant called. Someone had tried to fill out a joint venture form using my old credentials. The IP address traced back to my father's city. Let the games begin. But I didn't yell, I didn't warn, I just cut off and closed all the remaining shared accounts. I revoked the last access permission my mother had to just check the balance. I renamed my agency. I re-registered the legal entity under a new holding company. I pulled every last string they could have used to reach me. Then I did something definitive. I changed my last name. Not for show, not for drama, just for propriety. I took the last name of my grandfather, the only man in the family who always looked me in the eye and didn't flinch when I cried. My first name remained, but somehow it sounded different now, Free. The new office was small, clean, elegant, with no distractions, no clutter, no people I hadn't chosen. For the grand opening, I invited no one from the past, no old family friends, no if he has your best interests at heart relatives, just my team, people I trust, people who don't need me to be their emotional support system just to function. And then something quietly perfect happened. I stopped for coffee one morning, same order, same place, and heard a voice behind me. My mother. I hadn't heard her voice in months. It was exactly the same, and yet somehow smaller. She saw me, froze. I turned, looked her straight in the eye, and walked past her as if she were no one. No anger, no words, just silence. For the first time in her life, she didn't speak. And for the first time in mine, I didn't care. My apartment now. High ceilings, big windows, furniture I picked out. No heirlooms, no ghosts, no clutter. There's no family portrait on the shelf, just a single framed photo. Me standing in front of my new office, holding my keys like a sword. And on the mailbox, a new last name. No history, no shame. A neighbor once asked why I chose it. Is it a tribute? He asked. No, I said. It's the name of the only person who has never lied to me. There's something powerful about disappearing without explanation, about letting people wander around in circles, trying to figure out why you stopped responding, why you stopped saving, why you stopped being the one who kept coming back. They don't understand that it wasn't a snap. It was a slow burn, years of small betrayals, swallowed pain, unseen sacrifices, until one day I just walked out of the fire and didn't look back. I still get questions from outsiders, from people who heard something happened. They ask, do you miss them? I smile and say, you can't miss what you never had, because what I had wasn't love, it was interest. And the second I stopped letting them use me, the whole house of cards came crashing down. One night, I walked by the office after work. I was thinking about how it all happened. They now knew I wouldn't give in to any more blackmail and I didn't want them around anymore. Today, I don't bleed for anyone anymore. I'm no longer a weapon, but I still know how to cut. And this time, I didn't hesitate. What did you think of Jennifer's story? Tell me in the comments if you've ever been through a similar family case. If you liked this story, please like and share this video and subscribe to the channel for more amazing stories.